Deb, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. Tell me about your business. Tell me where you guys are located, your website, all the social media handles.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I oversee marketing and customer service for Paper Culture, and we are an e-commerce sustainable brand providing personalized products with a real emphasis on wedding invitations and the accompanying stationery. And we're located in the Bay Area, but like I said, we're e-commerce brand, and you can find us at paperculture.com.
Nice. And I got to imagine all your social stuff is paper culture.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So tell me about the sustainable part. What is that? What makes it sustainable for you guys?
Yeah, sure. So we were, launched in 2009 and by two former high-tech executives in the Bay Area, and they were really wanted to basically start a company that was both innovative in design and also sustainable. So one of the co-founders at the time was tasked with finding baby announcements for their impending child, and in doing so, he couldn't find ones that he really was, loving the design and that also were sustainable. And so with that, the most tech people, then they get the urge and they start the company.
Yep.
And so was really the premise for Paper Culture. And so all of our materials are sustainable. Our cards are 100% post-consumer recycled paper, so no trees are harmed. We plant a tree with every order. So to date,
Wow.
we've planted over 1 million trees, which we're really proud of.
Awesome. Yeah.
Both domestic and international. And then we actually, as a team, plant trees around Arbor Day each year, which is really fun.
Oh,
And
that's fun.
then, yeah, and then we're not perfect. So, we ship and we have other things that do leave a carbon footprint. So we partner with an organization that basically offsets that carbon footprint through carbon credits. So we are net neutral.
Yeah. And I got to imagine there's other pieces, right? So like the printing material or the ink and other things like that. I think that I would imagine that there's probably sustainable ink nowadays. I don't know for sure because I haven't looked into it specifically, but
Yeah.
are you guys constantly looking for ways to like build more sustainability into what you're doing?
Absolutely. That's actually a great question. And one of the things we really have to do is also balance quality. So for ink specifically, we haven't found a solution yet that is solving both the quality that we would expect and the sustainability. So that's something actually we actively look at. And that's always a path for us. And so we're always looking at our packaging and how can we make that better, and then making the changes and optimizing as there's a lot we can still do.
Sure.
And our goal is, hey, we can't alone, help or, save the planet, but just through inspiration and through purchasing with us, if we can inspire our customers and other people to think more about that, that's really, ultimately our goal, as well as just providing a positive purchase,
Yeah.
for the planet.
Do you feel like consumers today believe that sustainability is kind of built into the products that they're buying? Like when they're buying something, even though a company might not be publicly or formally promoting it,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like that their belief is that the company itself is actually doing some sustainability stuff? I feel like, especially the younger generation, I feel like they are just assuming that companies are moving towards sustainability.
Yeah, I think what we find is these younger customers are really seeking it out. So I
Nice.
think it's a big part. You see a lot of the statistics around millennials and how they really want to purchase with a company that they can feel good about. And so they really do their research. So what's interesting is we find with the wedding customer, they have sought us out because of the sustainability. And some of our most successful campaigns are around the
Yeah.
sustainability portion, which in a crowded market space, quite honestly, it can be hard to stand out. And so that's really something they're seeking. So I actually think they don't assume it is, and they're looking for companies that are, and they've
Oh,
done their
nice.
research. And it's very interesting because it's a different purchase than, say, our holiday cards. Not to say people don't care about the product they're purchasing, but in holiday, it's very time sensitive. You're in a rush. You have a million things you're trying to check off. You just want to get your holiday card. So you're happy that, hey, it's doing, more help than harm for the planet. But where wedding, it's very different. People are looking to find companies that are going to offset, the trash associated with weddings. I think they say an average of 400 pounds of trash is, attributed to each wedding on
Quite
average.
crazy, yeah.
So they're really trying to reduce that footprint, but they still want invitations.
Yeah, makes sense. So what is the process? I contact you. Most of your couples come to you online, call you up, and what does that look like? And then what do we actually do? What do we go through?
Yeah. So we have multiple ways you can get a hold of us through phone, email, and chat. And we find, depending on the customer, it really depends how involved they want us to be with them. So one of the things that we try to do, since we are e-commerce, is try to provide the same level of customer service you would find in store, picking out your wedding invitations, when that used to be the only way to do it at some point. I know my wedding was like that. And so some people we chat with, because they really are just like, I really need guidance. I'm not sure what kind of invitation I have. These wedding etiquette questions. I don't want children at my wedding. Can you help me find these specific designs? And so it's much more of a high touch. Then some of our customers, we might not really interact until they actually submit their wedding invitation to be proofs, and maybe they request designer assistance. So, hey, can you move this layout? Can you add these flowers to this card? And that's within the customization. And one of the things that we offer that's different is free customer service before you even purchase. So you can ask for designer edits, as you're going through the process of personalizing. And then we get those edits back to you. And we don't print anything until it's approved on your side, so you know exactly what you're getting. Yeah. So there's different, points. We get people like very early in the cycle. Hey, maybe they just got engaged. They're very excited. They want to do their research. And so we really try to equip them with, hey, think about how many people you want to your wedding, get your wedding list ready, think about your wedding theme. Do you want rustic? Are you getting married in a place that you think is more traditional? Maybe you want your invitation to reflect that. And so we help them through that process. And then again, you get people closer to the purchase cycle. They're like, okay, I'm looking for a floral card that has this certain amount of blue, blue and things like that. And so we really try to, handhold them throughout the process. And we also try to promote what can be done. Because like I said, in store, you have a very clear idea. Okay, you can pick these colors, and so we try to, let engaged couples know, hey, you can customize any color you want. You can do these things, because it's harder to do when you have kind of one shot on a website versus here we're meeting and let's go over your invitations and here's your options from A to Z. Right. And so that's what happens. And then they might come back with more edits. And then usually what happens is, we help them through the rest of the wedding stationery, because, you have maybe start with your save the date, and then you need to do your wedding invitations. And I need to get all this information on. Do I need an information card? Do I need, what do you recommend for this? And so there's a lot of
menus and name tags and all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. What's the cycle time usually like in general?
Yeah. So we find that, you get people looking from a year on plus, and then usually people purchase, their save the dates from 8 months to 12 months. And then they send their invitations probably between 3 and 4 months. And then what happens is, as it goes closer to the wedding, people start ordering the day of items, like like you just mentioned, menus, programs, things like that, to kind of finish that out. And then of course, thank you notes is a huge part of it too, because people are throughout, you're getting showered with gifts throughout the whole process and then after. And so thank you notes kind of happen throughout the process.
Yeah. So ideally they come in early, you can walk them through the whole thing. If they've already sent out save the dates, then it's closer in, that sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So what would you say, like a year ago, people were looking for certain things, and now what would you say couples are looking for in general, from a trend perspective?
Yeah, it's really funny. Like, people, I think overall are getting, you still have the people that want really traditional, but you're getting more and more casual, we're finding. So it's, hey, like, I want to feature my pet on the save the dates. Do you have a photo that can feature us and then the back has the pet? I mean, I can't tell you how many save the dates we have with pets.
Nice.
And we're such a pet friendly company. Like, we just love it. Like, we'll see the proofs and we get so excited. Or they're developing like hashtags and sort of puns around their names and these fun like hashtags to kind of uniquely identify their wedding. And then also then after the wedding, they can tag on that hashtag and everyone's like adding those. And then you'll see people doing themes, which seems to be more and more. I think we had a great Gatsby theme that came across recently.
Nice.
That's really interesting. So they're kind of have something in their mind and trying to make a thematic wedding. Another in the past year, an interesting trend we've been seeing is people purchasing multiple designs for one invitation. So they couldn't decide. So they do several designs. And so they just break it out. It's kind of like an A/B test. It's really interesting. And so that we've been seeing too. So people get really, I think, clever and innovative. The other thing is a lot of people do their own invitations. So they come to us. We have do-it-yourself templates. And so they are bringing, basically submitting those to be printed since we're eco-friendly. And we see a lot of those. And the last thing I would say, and I think I actually saw it in the New York Times recently, excuse me, was caricatures. More and more people are either doing save dates or doing these caricatures or paintings that they then use on the wedding invitation, which is really unique. And we had been seeing it. And then I think it was last weekend in the New York Times style section, they were talking about that.
Like them as like their Bitmoji or their, iMoji.
Yeah. I mean, we've been seeing probably less of that as either it's like a more realistic painting of them that they've had someone do, or it is like more character inspired. And so it's really funny. I mean, it's just has changed so much over the years. It used to be like you sent the formal invitation, that was it.
Yeah, people are
very creative.
Yeah, creative and getting, more casual, trying to do something a little different, shake it up a little bit. I think that's the general theme.
Yeah, and making it unique. I think everyone really wants to make theirs unique. And so there's a lot of, ways to be able to do that now with personalization, customization, and all the social media. Yeah,
for sure. What advice would you give couples if they're looking for invitations? Like, what questions should they be thinking about? What questions should they be asking?
Yeah, I think there is sort of more of the logistics that they should be asking, like, because you can't really order your invitations till your list. And so you should have your A list, I hate to call that, but people still do the sort of primary list and then you have your backup. So it's really understanding those key factors, like where am I getting married? What are the details? Because they have to iron that out. And then what's my list size, right? And then what do they have, like, what's their vision for the wedding? Because often then people extend that to the wedding invitation. So do I want to do a rustic theme? Do I want to do a more sort of modern theme? And so kind of having idea of the type of invitation you want, at least to start, because that will help narrow their choice. Because it's, I think sometimes when you're looking for a wedding invitation, it can be like going to a department store where there's almost too many choices. And then, we try to make it easy in the website by kind of filtering those different themes so that you can then have, be able to look at, hundreds versus thousands. So I think that's really important. And understanding like what components you want. It's totally fine. A lot of people have, push people to websites. So then maybe you don't need all of the different stationery cards that are associated in addition to the wedding invitation, but a lot of people want those. They want the formality of having, their older relative have the information in their hand. So when they're going to the wedding, it's there and not on a website they have to seek out. So you get all different ranges. So I think just having kind of an idea about the process and, what they want to basically, deliver to their guests.
Sure. Is there a threat? I mean, generally, I think it was, depending on the number of families that you're inviting, right? But what is the threshold for guest counts versus number of invitations that you really need to get?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and it depends. I mean, we probably get an average, you get, 80 or 100 because people, depending on their wedding size, and then people are living together. And then usually you want like 5% extra. A lot of people do extra envelopes because, if you're handwriting and things like that, and you don't want to make the error, spell someone's name wrong, or, someone.
Yeah, then you got to put it in a plain card or something. Yeah.
Right. So I think, and those are the things that we help people with. They'll have lots of questions or,
Yeah. Good. let's switch gears and talk about the business side a little bit. Over the past maybe year or so, what would you say has been working well for you guys?
Yeah, so I think the two things that really make us stand out, I would say, in addition to obviously the design, which we really pride ourselves on, and I think is a unique portfolio, is the customer service, which we've, I would say, really deepened and expanded. One of the most surprising things is, we have a big, other categories, big holiday business and things like that.
Sure.
And so when we took on wedding, we were very nervous. I owned a bridal salon in my previous life, so I was used to the high touch customer. And we were like, oh no, our net promoter score, we have to keep it. And we were very nervous about that because of the amount of interactions you have. And obviously this is a little bit more important to people than sending out a holiday card. And as a result, our net promoter score actually went up.
Wow.
And so I think the fact that once we get them in, they are so happy with the experience. And hey, we're not perfect. Sometimes it goes really wrong, right? I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but it's all about how you handle the crisis, right? And so those customers almost become more of an advocate from us versus someone that doesn't have an issue, because it's all the way you handle the crisis, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's just life philosophy. It's about when things
Agreed.
go wrong, right?
How do you handle it? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so that has really helped us with referrals because, overseeing marketing for all of the categories, it's really interesting what channels work for non-wedding and what works for wedding. And really it comes down to referral business, and referrals, anything, from social media, people promoting it, to the actual ratings. So we have thousands of, 5-star Google reviews. We get, like I said, our net promoter score. So that's one thing that has really worked for us, because as now we've been established long enough in the wedding category, now we're building those big referrals, which is,
That's
just
huge.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then what I mentioned before, the sustainability is the other key factor. As we just, have this climate crisis in our face, people are looking more and more to help not hurt the planet. And this, people don't want to give up their wedding invitations. This is special. This is a, huge milestone. And so it's nice that that has really resonated with people. And I would say when we started the company 11 years ago, even though I wasn't there, it's almost like we were too early. We saw all these brands in the past 5 years really launch with the sustainability message and really doing it. Like it wasn't just a marketing thing. And we were almost too early. But now that we've launched wedding, it was the perfect timing. People were ready to buy it. It was important. It was part of the top criteria that they're looking for. So those two things have really been, I would say, pivotal in our, our success.
Did you guys walk through like a touch point exercise when you were thinking about, like earlier you were saying about how weddings is so high touch, right, with the customer? Did you guys walk through like, what does this experience look like for them now that it's, different?
Absolutely. And it's funny because we talk a lot. One of the things I love working at Paper Culture is we're very collaborative. So we've gone through the customer journey. And we still, and it's painful because there's still things we know we need to fix. And we're like, oh, we know that, or we'll get the feedback. And we're like, thank you. We do a lot of customer research. We talk to customers on the phone. We want to get as much information from them about what we've done poorly or we can improve on, so that we can optimize that experience for them. So we're always looking at the customer journey from the time, hey, they saw an ad to what was their actual package looking like, and so those things we always evaluate.
That's I'm glad you guys do that. I don't think enough businesses actually go back and talk to their customers about the things that went wrong. They're so worried about, I think, getting the review and getting that out there that they miss the opportunity to find out, how do I fix the things that are wrong? Even though you may be doing things mostly well, there's always some way to improve something. And having the conversation with your customers is the perfect way to do that. If you don't mind, how do you guys go about, what's the best approach that you found to go out and try to get, solicit the bad feedback from your customers?
Yeah, so we are pretty proactive. We just launched a product photo books that we're super excited for, also sustainable. And so we are really, I would say, aggressive in getting feedback. So it may be a pop-up on the site It might be you're in proactive chat and we're going to ask you about, hey, can you take 5 minutes at the end for a survey?
Mhm.
We send out emails to visitors. We do third-party surveys, and then we get people on the phone because it's really hard. We give them incentive to hop on the phone with us if it's a gift card or something. But, you find emails work sometimes, right? Maybe you just really want to know one little thing, but when you're really like launching a product, you need to get on the phone with customers because you just continue the dialogue, just like us right now. You can give me a list of questions we were going to talk about and I can email you the answer. But of course, like as you speak in person, you're going to like, oh, and then I thought of this and, oh, well, how does that work? And so that's what we really try to achieve with phone.
That's why I like doing these interviews, is because even though I have a set of questions I generally like to ask, every conversation has been different and it responds us off into a different direction. And I don't know, I think those are the most useful conversations because not only am I learning, but other people are hopefully learning from this and gaining some knowledge and wisdom and helping them. So, I mean, anyway, that's the goal.
Yeah. And, just on that note, interesting tidbit is it's funny because, we're not a huge team. And so we will do sometimes, team exercises across departments. And I always use this one example that just cracks me up. So you really learn from other departments and how people think. And so we were going to launch this, packaging that was basically, the goal was, hey, when you're done with it, you can use it for something else, like recycle, the whole inspire people to recycle. And I think at that point we had called it like we were talking about at a meeting, the inside out box. And one of the engineers goes, isn't that kind of negative? Should it be called like the reversible box? Inside out is usually like a negative connotation. I'm like, thank you. Totally. And so it's funny how I think going back to talking to your customers, also talking to your team, your own team, because you can be in your little, you have tunnel vision within your own department. And then when you collaborate across teams, you might not think would have marketing insight, often do. And so it's a reality check.
That's true. The good example I like to use is the coffee sleeve that on the Starbucks cup, the thing that keeps you from burning your hand. That was invented by a team member on the staff member. So,
I love that.
Right. And so just getting feedback from your internal team and staff about stuff, look how much that is used now, way more than, it was many years ago, but still look at that thing. It's used. And then what about the little stopper thing, right? Where did that come from?
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I didn't know that about the sleeve, but that's awesome.
Yeah. I had read about that a while back and I started using it in some of the things I was, when I go out and speak and I talk to people about getting information from your internal team. I use that example because it's so important to get stuff from your team and the people that you're working with to basically pull feedback in, right? We actually miss that sometimes, I think, as a source. So yeah, it's good. Yeah. What would you say has been your biggest challenges over the past year or even the past few months, particularly with all the COVID stuff?
Yeah, obviously everything's been disruptive, and with wedding being a big part of our business, we've been, dealing and helping wedding customers who we feel terrible for that their weddings have been either canceled or postponed. And so I think that's one of really, in running a business, you have to react. There's no time to wait. Overnight, you have customers, what am I going to do? My wedding's postponed. And or people, wanting advice. Now I'm having a smaller wedding. I'm going to have a micro wedding. Maybe I'll have a reception later. How do I uninvite guests? That came up. And it was like, oh my gosh, like these challenges, right? So you have to really be ready for those and react. So that's been a challenge just in terms of, reacting to that quick enough because you have this flood of people coming to you. And then it's also, I think, brings up a challenge. One of the things that I didn't answer that you had asked was what engaged couples should ask for. And one of the things is now about policies, right? So we're getting customers that have lost thousands of dollars with vendors. And, it's hard. It's not to say the vendors were, they're in a situation too, right? Like no one expected this. It's like earthquake insurance, like pandemic insurance now or something. And so I don't blame either side, but it's more, hey, now going forward, be clear about that. And so, one of the challenges is, okay, how do we handle these from a business perspective? And so, we did launch a flexible, policy where if people are purchasing, wedding invitations and their date changes, under a certain time, we'll replace them for free. Right. And so that has really actually turned into an opportunity, I would say. And so some of our challenges have turned it into opportunities, I would say in two ways. One is we've really won customers over for life. I just read, I always get sort of the surveys. I just read a certain one. It was like, you will forever. I just lost so much money with vendors and you guys reprinted these and you have a customer for life. So, I mean, it's like I get choked up. And then the other thing is launching new products, right? So, there's the thing now, postponement announcements, right? Oh, we should get on that. Postponement cards.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? Wedding announcements. I'm having a micro. Oh, you guys eloped? Okay, now I need a marriage announcement. So it's like, some of these just turn into opportunities, which I think, that's the thing. Problems, you look at problems and how can you change them into opportunity.
Yeah. It's good. I don't think enough businesses do that. Like look at a problem. You're so consumed by the problem and the stuff that's happening that you forget to look for opportunities.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes, right? If you're impacted big time and you just don't know what to do. I mean, I just got an email a couple weeks ago from a business that had been they're a service business where they serve food. So they have staff that serve food and catering. Mm-hmm. And 41 years, boom, done.
Oh, that's
just
heartbreaking.
Like that. Could survived all kinds of stuff, but this just took them out. So
heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. It's very heartbreaking, but what can you do? You look for opportunities. That's good. If you had, as a leader, what would you say if you had to go back and tell yourself something 3 to 5 years ago? What would you go back and tell yourself?
Yeah, honestly, I think it would be, we had talked about getting into wedding for years, probably the first 4 years I worked at Paper Culture. So I would say we knew it was the right thing, but I don't know what was, when you're running a business, there's so many things, right? And you're kind of dealing with the day to day. And so I think that would have been the big, we should have run with that quicker. And I think too, because again, with sustainability, it's such an important factor in that decision for a lot of engaged couples. And so I think, hey, maybe that would have been the majority of our business right now. Obviously it's an emerging business.
Sure.
And we're seeing great, results, but just meaning, hey, you want to protect yourselves and mitigate risk. So I think if we had focused on that earlier, that would have been great.
I agree with you. I think sustainability is, at least over the past 4 to 5 years, have become really more interesting and more, I think, broadly talked about and shared. I don't know. I think people are just becoming like, what are we doing? I mean, it's pretty obvious that climate is changing. I mean, my wife was just showing me a video from Kingman, Arizona, where there was a tornado. I mean, I've been here for 33 years, and in the past 5 years, I have seen more tornadoes in Arizona than I have ever seen.
Crazy.
Right? So you can obviously see that the climate is changing. So what are we doing about it is the thing. Absolutely.
We actually, last year it was a year ago, June, and we went down to, one of the things we're trying to do is, obviously we run a sustainable business, but we haven't gotten to the point where we've taught our own database how to advocate or ourselves. And so we actually went to, with this climate organization and went to watch lobbying for a bill
really nice
in DC last year. And it was just fascinating and it was inspiring. There was an 11-year-old that was with her father who has been basically going to these lobbying events and basically promoting the planet and what are we doing? I'm the next generation. What are you doing to us? And so it was really, really, interesting, but I think we can continue to push and educate since we have such a big database that we can talk to and help, because people feel helpless. And so how can you help? You do have a voice. So.
Right. Okay. So last question is, what's your most inspirational wedding story that you have?
I guess it would be, over this past couple months. We have always, we're always part of people's events. Their birth announcements is,
there's all kinds,
right? Graduation. And, it was really interesting because our graduation business was really delayed, offset, because people like to combine the party and the announcement, and am I having a party? And so then, okay, I can't have a party, so now let's get the invitations. But with wedding, we're now like dealing with these customers, knowing them on a more personal level than ever, because they are sort of in crisis, some of them, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
sure.
What do I do? And I don't know when I'm doing it, and like everything's messed up, and I need to organize it with 10 other vendors. And so I think just being part of that has been, like, as a group, has been really, for our customer service teams, really just felt great. I mean, everyone's dealing with this. No one knows what tomorrow is going to hold. And so to be able to kind of talk customers through and help them has been rewarding, for our teams. And so, like what I mentioned, I think the customer that came through, that I had said previously, and was like, you have a customer for life. I mean, I think we've had those, like, in the past 3 months, that's a frequent, right. That's a frequent, and so I think, the fact that we can help people in this time that everyone feels so helpless is just really rewarding.
It is crazy. Do you go out and read Reddit at all?
I don't so much. I used to, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a couple of forums on there, but one of them is the wedding. It's a planning forum for weddings. And I was reading it last week. I was just spending some time kind of reading through some of the comments. And I would say probably every 5th comment was someone who was so frustrated with rescheduling and trying to figure this whole thing out that they were just literally done, and they were just going to go get married.
Yeah.
And then just maybe have a party later, or just be done with it. So they want to get married. They love each other. That's the whole purpose. Most of them, right? I mean, that's the whole point. But it's extremely frustrating, and trying to deal with all the logistics when you've already spent all this effort in trying to get it all planned out. Oh man, it's just heartbreaking to see it.
It really is. And actually, this past 2 weeks, we've had people coming back for the second postponement. We're like, wow. Oh, that is. So I think now you'll just see that everyone starts scheduling in 2021. I think.
Yeah, forget it. I'm getting married in 2022.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, cool. Deb, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.